Welcome back to Lost Legacies. I'm Matt.
And I'm Sam.
How's it going, Sam?
It's not bad. It's not bad. We're here. We're yeah,
Mm-hmm.
no complaints.
Yeah. What have you been up to?
I don't know. No, I don't know. Just the last couple of weekends, we've just been homebodies.
That's nice, man. It feels good to just have to do nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And it's like we'll clean a little bit. We'll cook, but it's kind of it. We're here. And I like it. I enjoy it. Yeah, I don't know. I started reading Salem's Lot, so that's fun.
Is it scary?
Yeah, it's a little creepy,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know. It's weird because this was written the 70s or something, so it's contemporary for the time. And I imagine that it would have been scarier reading it back then,
Interesting. Okay.
So yeah, reading it now, and that's not me saying that oh, it's passe or something. It's no,
Mhm.
I just there have been so many vampire stories and so many scary vampire stories and so many stories that have taken stuff from Salem's Lot,
Mm-hmm.
that now I'm seeing it, now that I'm reading it, I'm like, oh, okay. Midnight Mass is essentially Salem's Lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
There's key differences, but yeah. But still, it's cool. I enjoy it because it's regarded as a classic now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's yeah, it's cool going back and reading the classic.
Yeah.
Kind of in the same way that I'm imagining when Stephen King wrote it, he's thinking about Dracula and how Dracula is the classic.
Mm-hmm.
And I think and it's fascinating because I think both of those stories speak to the same thing of the contemporary clashing with the old world, you know.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
Mina and Jonathan and Van Helsing, they're clashing against the old world that is, Dracula and his castle and all this stuff. And everybody in Salem's Lot, in the 70s are coming to terms with this strange evil, yeah, just
Mm-hmm.
very old world, very ancient world evil. I think that's really cool.
That's interesting. Yeah, interesting that you said what, I'm trying to remember the exact words you said, but you said it was contemporary for then.
Mm-hmm.
So you think it might have been scarier then?
I think so. I mean, because that's what people say. I hearing people talking about reading the book and then people watching the original Toby Hooper TV miniseries.
Mm-hmm.
People have said that was the scariest movie they ever saw.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of fascinating how that changes throughout time.
Mm-hmm.
I just saw a video reaction to Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan.
Ooh.
And I really like both these guys who do it. They're watching Star Trek for the first time and they loved it. They really liked it. But there were some comments about how they were really disappointed. One in Khan, because he doesn't really succeed at anything. Literally everything he does, he fails at in that movie. And they were complaining how Kirk and Khan never actually get face-to-face time. It's all over the screen. And I think that just has to do with well, sure, but you also have to keep in mind this was the 80s, right? Is early 80s, 82 or something?
82?
82. The big thing at the time was the submarine films. It was America against Russia, post Cold War. And that's very much
during the Cold War.
Oh yeah, that's true. Good point. Yeah, so I mean that's kind of what it was, and I don't want to say at the time that was really cool, but it was something relevant. So it was a different kind of Star Trek. Because even the whole climax, the whole ship battles is very much like a submarine battle. And even today, I think it holds up. It's great.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
I think my whole thing is like it's not really about the film's not really about Khan at all. It's all a MacGuffin. You know, sure you
Hmm.
have the actual MacGuffin that they're fighting over, the Genesis Project, but Khan there as a villain is kind of just a MacGuffin as well. Like it could have been anyone.
Mm.
The real story is aging. You know,
Hmm.
this all of them are talking about aging, getting older. Uh, Kirk's really missing the command, all that stuff, blah blah blah. But then, you know, slight spoilers. You know, a major character dies at the end. That was the climax of the film. You know,
Hmm.
it's not the final fight, the final ship battle of Khan. It's not Khan making an ultimate sacrifice and still failing.
Hmm.
The climax is the film is the death of this major character
Hmm.
because you're talking about just decades of this character and this actor playing that character, and then you have that final conversation between them and Kirk, and it's like that's what the movie was all about. And getting back to where it's like, oh yeah, this probably hit harder back then. That was unheard of.
Hmm.
Today, we kill off main characters all the time.
Yeah.
But Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, like, one, the fact that you got this beloved TV show to actually get a movie franchise, what, a decade or two later,
Hmm.
was rare enough. Then you go off and you kill one of the main characters, unheard of. Today, we
Yep.
wouldn't bat an eye, like, oh, well, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, even now, you know, again, a spoiler, I guess, we know Star Trek 3 is called The Search for Spock.
Yeah.
We know it's coming. At the time, nobody knew. They're like, oh my God, you know,
Yeah.
this was it. And for all intents and purposes, it was until that actor was given a bunch of money and producing credit. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah. So I don't know. I just think that's funny that you brought that up because I've been thinking about that a lot lately. How our perceptions of films change because no matter what, we can't help but look at it with a 2023 lens, you know,
Hmm.
because that's our reality.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
I was because I watched and this I guess might be sacrilegious for, book purists or just fans of Salem's Lot or Stephen
Hmm.
King, but I saw Toby Hooper's Salem's Lot last October,
Hmm.
and I enjoyed it. I liked it. I definitely felt like there was something I was missing, and that there was, something just lost in translation for me. Still very much enjoyed it, but yeah, I was like, yeah, okay, like this is a vampire story.
Yeah.
So now going back and reading the book and seeing, or I guess, listening to, like what King is doing and all of that, it's like, oh, okay, I get it now. He's taking this idea of Dracula and just transposing it into America,
Hmm.
and doing sort of the thing that novel does, where it's like, oh yeah, we're taking this vampire and putting him in, what is then contemporary England. um and he's doing that, but saying like, what if Dracula just ended up in the middle of nowhere USA?
Hmm.
How easy would it be for a vampire infestation to take over a town that people just drive through?
Hmm.
Maybe they'll stop for gas, maybe they'll stay one night and then they take off. Like, how
Hmm.
easy is that? And then he does it. And it's really, really cool. And stuff that I thought was intriguing, but weren't necessarily like played out to what I wanted or expected in the miniseries, that it's all there in the book. And we really
Hmm.
get this sense of like who the townsfolk are and what their routine is.
Hmm.
So when one of them goes down, people notice. But who notices? How long does it take for them to notice?
And you
And things
start
like
seeing
that.
how the everyday is starting to change, very much like Dark.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Very much like
So
Dark.
we
And I
love
feel
those
like,
small town stories, you know? It's so cool
yeah,
to see that change. Yeah.
yeah. And I guess relating it to Dark too, it is interesting that both of these are, set in small towns, but more than that, it's like there is this sort of clash. Winden is coming into, I don't know, like coming up against like these forces. In the present day, they're coming up against these forces that are from the past, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But from what we've seen in this episode, feels like that might not be the origin of when these forces
Mm-hmm.
started affecting it.
Mm-hmm.
Um that's a weird way to word it, but essentially, like, it does feel like there's something even older that's
Yeah.
that's coming.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like we kind of get a sense of this was already happening. This episode is in
Yeah,
the past and we get a sense that something was already happening. Yeah.
exactly.
Um yeah, yeah. So I actually had a story about Dracula in a small deserted Texas town
Really?
because if Dracula wants to hide, where would you go? It's the last place you would think. A desert somewhere,
Hmm. Hmm.
Texas in middle of nowhere. Um, yeah, yeah. I had no idea that's what Salem Lot was. So thank you for informing me. I've never watched it, never haven't even read the back cover of the book. I stay away.
Wow.
So
I
it's
I
probably if you think something's kind of scary, just assume it's scary for me. Same way as if when you're eating food and you're like, this may be kind of mild, just assume it's going to be spicy for Matt.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. So
100%.
yeah, and the protagonist who ended up fighting Dracula was none other than Cinnamon and Oatmeal, who are the two leads of our D&D podcast.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Which that's a good
That's right.
segue actually, because we haven't brought this up in a while. And we may or may not have new listeners because of Dark.
That's true.
Guys, we have this is only one of our podcasts. This is our older one, Lost Legacies. We also have another podcast called The Adventures of Cinnamon and Oatmeal, which is a D&D Dungeons and Dragons podcast starring two teddy bears. So go check it out. We're kind of in a extended hiatus. We're trying to like wrap up season 1. Uh
Yes.
yeah. But I bring this up because we are kind of all under the banner of the Hidden City Book Company, which was Sam and I's company when we tried to start a bookstore and realized it's hard. To put it
it's
lightly, it's
it's
very
hard,
hard.
and it's hard when you don't have money.
Yeah, like
you
and
know.
because it's almost impossible to make money without going into major debt when it comes to
Yeah.
bookstores.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's kind of we just kept the company and maybe we'll be bookstore again one day. Uh but right
Fingers
now,
crossed.
yeah, that's just kind of our company in general. So I am starting a YouTube page. And that's gonna kind of be the umbrella that Lost Legacies and Cinnamon and Oatmeal fall under. I'm gonna start basically putting the Lost Legacies podcast up on YouTube because I know a lot of people like YouTube has a whole audience um, that don't do the podcasting. So, but they'll listen to it on YouTube. So we're kind of staying away from cameras right now because we're used to doing the audio only. And if we do cameras, me and Sam would both need new cameras because ours suck. So maybe in the future, but yeah, so we're going to be dropping that on a future YouTube page. I'm also starting to do some gaming, not really live streaming, but kind of like let's play series. So I kind of just talk my way through stuff.
Hmm.
I'm really excited. I'm pretty sure my first series is going to be The Expanse of the new video game. Uh,
Ooh.
Especially because I just love that world so much and I love to talk about it.
Hmm.
And I don't know. Actually, I kind of want to hear Sam's thoughts on it too. So maybe we'll do that, and then we'll also record Sam's reactions to that video.
Oh my god.
Just because, like,
It's
I'm really curious to talk about it.
me
Um,
reacting to the choices you make
yeah.
in this Telltale
Well,
game.
because also it's a prequel to the
Yeah.
show and the books.
Yeah.
So, well, it's the cast from the show, but it's a prequel. So I'm kind of interested to learn more of the world.
Hmm.
So all this is to say is keep an eye out, ear open. I'll let you know when the YouTube page goes live. Uh, but also hit us up on social media because I want to know what ideas y'all have. Like, what do you want to see me and Sam do, and or talk about? So when we were still doing Cinnamon and Oatmeal podcast regularly, we would have the Sam chat like once a month, where it was
Hmm.
mostly us just talking, mostly D&D and the show and stuff. But I kind of like that, you know. So let us know what you want us to do. Maybe we can incorporate it with Lost Legacies more, because obviously, as you could tell, we do talk a bit in the openings.
Hmm.
But I'm just kind of curious what everyone out there is into and stuff. So yeah, let us know. Um, Other than that, I think we got a very interesting episode to talk about today, Sam.
I agree.
Guys, I didn't write up a summary, so I'm just copy and pasting from IMDb. But we are
Wow.
talking about Dark Season 1, Episode 3, Past and Present. It's 1986, and Ulrich's brother, Mads, has been missing for a month. Confusion reigns as past and present intertwine. Also, his future kid, Mikhail, shows up.
Yeah.
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 So interesting, Sam, that we had kind of mentioned last week how the first two episodes kind of feel like a pilot or a two-part
Hmm.
pilot.
Hmm.
Because this episode, episode 3, feels like another pilot. It feels
This is
like
like
pilot
P-
part 2.
Pilot 2.0. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because it feels like a whole different show. There's a whole different cast other than Mikhail.
Hmm.
Wild. I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just like, oh my God, there's more people whose names I have to remember now. Damn
Yeah,
it.
and it's not just like
Oh,
a few. It's like a whole new cast.
yeah.
Oh,
And I'm just, oh,
yeah.
it was good. It was very good. A little overwhelming though, because I'm sitting here like, okay, I don't know who this is.
Yeah, you're
Okay, I
just trying to
don't know
keep
who
up,
this
right?
is. Yeah. At least with like the kids, it was a little bit easier. You
Yeah.
know, we had Yorick, we had Katrina,
Hmm.
um Hannah,
Hmm.
show up. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. We see like Yorick's mom and eventually like her husband,
Hmm.
all of that. And so it's like, okay, so like we can see characters, from the previous episodes, like as
Hmm.
adults, like okay, we see them as kids, like that's cool.
Hmm.
But then we just get a whole new cast of characters too, like newer kids,
Hmm.
and more adults. And I'm just like, wait, how are you related to any of
Hmm.
this? Man, I really am gonna have to start going onto that dark website you were talking
Dude,
about,
it's
because
so good. It's so
I
cool.
yeah, I need to
But
keep.
I thought they did a really good job because let's just jump to the end. There's a really cool montage where we see
Yeah.
all of the characters from what year are they? 86? 1986?
86. Yeah.
We see all the characters from 86 in the current day, which is 2019, I believe.
Yeah.
And so that helped a lot. And I
Hmm.
kind of feel like that made it a little bit more easy because
Hmm.
before first two episodes we're just trying to keep track of everyone. And this one you don't really know who everyone is, but other than like actually named characters,
Hmm.
it's like you're not supposed to. Like they weren't saying who these people are. You
Hmm.
know, it's not until like that last 5 minutes of the episode where you actually see who everyone is in the modern
Hmm.
day. And you're like, oh, okay. So you see, like you were saying, all the new kids. You're like, who are these people? I have no idea. But then at the end of the episode, it shows who they are as adults, and you're like,
Hmm.
oh, okay.
But there was one of them I didn't recognize, which
Which one was
was
that?
the girl, the girl with the curly hair.
Oh, and the mirror at the end.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was Regina. That's the hotel lady.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Like
She
I
literally
figured.
only shows up for that one shot, so it's kind of difficult. And it's a heavy shot too.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
stuff is going on.
It's
So,
a heavy shot, and also like she just looked different than how we saw her. in episode 1 because she wasn't in episode 2 at all.
Right.
Yeah, because her hair is pulled up in like a tight knot, and in
Hmm.
the first episode she's like business
She
casual
was in episode
clothing.
2 because she
Oh,
checks
she is in
in that
episode 2.
guy.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
But no, agree. Like we see her with her hair down, and
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
So that was her. Um, but I thought it was very interesting because even then, we at the beginning we see the girl, the young girl, finding the dead birds and
Hmm.
drawing them. I'm like, okay, creepy girl. But at the
Okay,
end,
God forbid women have hobbies, Matt.
okay, fair, that's fair. But at the end, we find out like, oh, that's Charlotte, that's the police chief, because we
Yeah.
see her at the end with the birds, and you're like, oh, so that
Hmm.
kind of gives different context to that scene, which we thought was great. When she just
Hmm.
walks out and sees all the dead birds,
Hmm.
it's like, oh,
And now
wow.
it's even better because she's like, oh, whoa, this again, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, as an audience, we realize she's seen this before.
Hmm.
So she was always a little investigator then,
Hmm.
you know? No wonder she grew up to be the police chief.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So I guess let's just kind of break it down character by character. Where do you want to? I guess we should start with Mikhail.
Yeah. Yeah.
He, man, it's so tough because he's so young, and you see that from his perspective, of how this is a scary situation. Like he's not home, everything's familiar but different, and like he realizes pretty quickly that like, oh, this is the past. He
Hmm.
realizes this is his young dad that he's getting bullied by.
Yeah.
um but he's just like, so I can he's trying to comprehend like what's happening.
Hmm.
And yeah, man, I can't imagine how terrifying that is.
Being bullied by the younger version of your dad and also by the younger version of your mom.
Oh yeah, no, she sucks too.
Yeah. I'm like, geez. Like, look, hey, teenagers are hell, all right?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'm just like, okay, like, yeah, because it's crazy. Like, he just goes to the school, you know,
Hmm.
and doesn't recognize anyone, just trying to find his mom.
What song do they play?
It's oh, dang it, Tears for Fears.
Oh, that's right.
Um,
Is that the one? I'm trying to remember how it goes.
oh dang it.
It's not Shout, was it?
No, I think it is Shout.
Shout, shout.
Shout.
I'm not actually going to
Let
perform
it
it because I don't
all.
want to
Oh,
get
okay.
copyright.
Oh,
I'm
oh,
going to perform it as spoken word poetry.
oh gosh.
Shout, shout. Let it all out. These are the things we can do without.
All right, Shatner, calm down. Calm down.
I just like putting the worst inflection at the most random parts
God.
of the sentence. Just add question marks before the end of the sentence.
What is this? Spoken word poetry?
I just said I should have had snapping in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I could have done slam poetry and just like pop the mic
I'm
and
talking
spit
to
everywhere.
you. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh.
Let it all out. Yeah. Anyway,
Wow.
that was a great scene. Again, this is the third episode in a row where they use music so well. The
Mhm.
score and the soundtrack. I'm like, oh
Mhm.
my God.
I'm very curious because you know Stranger Things is very much like I feel like it's very overdone on like the 80s nostalgia.
Yeah, yeah, big
You
time.
know, like it is just very like, nope, here it is, like everything you loved in the 80s, and we're just stuffing it in here and
Yeah.
doing the stuff, and like it's a little egregious at times. I don't feel that from this, but I wonder if that's because, again, as we've said, we're American, and this story takes place in Germany. So,
Mhm.
as far as I'm concerned, like it's not really that egregious, you
Mhm.
know? But I'm curious. So, if any of our listeners, care to correct me on that, or tell me your thoughts on that, please let us
Hmm.
know. Like,
We
is
have one listener from Germany. I've been talking about this
hey,
for a while. They've been listening for a long time. And you could see like what country, or I think it's not country, but like region
mm-hmm,
or city, something like that. You could see like where the listens are coming from. And
uh-huh.
there's only one person. We've had several from Germany, but one person from this one city who's been here forever. So I wonder who that is.
Hi. Did you like
Um,
dark?
I know. So yeah, no, I see what you're saying. Also, I like how Ulrich and Hannah have that conversation at the bus stop. She's like, uh, if you had one wish, what would you wish for? Right? Or what did she say? And he's
Like,
like,
if the world ends and it all starts over, what would be the one thing you wish for?
yeah,
And it works like easy, a world without wind in.
yeah. And I'm like, so that kind of paints a different picture. Like, we're not really supposed to like this visit to the 80s,
Yeah,
where Stranger Things is all about like celebrating it, and
yeah,
then you add horror later. It's like, no, they're like, this place sucks in modern day. This place sucked back then too. There's a good
yeah,
chance it always sucked, you
yeah.
know. But it was cool seeing all the different hairstyles, and that's the thing too. It may not be as hardcore as Stranger Things, but all the details still there. The
Yeah.
clothes, the backpacks, I guess that's clothes,
Hmm.
the hairstyles, the
The
makeup,
Walkman, yeah.
the music, everything is there, you know? It's just
Hmm.
like it really paints the picture. And I love how everyone is listening to a radio. Even
Yeah.
even the 80s police chief. He's
Hmm.
listening to the radio in his office and I'm like, awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
So oh, and then when he goes to pay Yorick a visit in his room, and it's all like hardcore metal, and like I
Hmm.
love seeing that because you see like all the older like band posters, the little action figures, and the old
Hmm.
school like a video game. I'm like, oh wow.
Yeah.
And of course, man, he's an old guy, so he's questioning Yorick on the lyrics of the music.
Hmm.
You know, I forgot what it says. Something about uh the more lives I take, the better I feel. Something like that. Something hardcore like that.
Yeah.
What does
The
that
only
mean?
line spoken in English in the whole episode.
Yeah, it wasn't Ultimate Fist Bump. It was this quote, this line from this metal song.
Yeah.
The more I had to look it up, something like that. The more lives I take, the better I feel. Whatever,
Hmm.
something like that. So, and that cop, he's doing a lot of investigating because he's trying to find Mads. He goes to see the field with a bunch of dead sheep.
Hmm.
Like, okay, 33 dead sheep.
33. I caught that. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And then later, when he goes back out, all the birds start falling.
Hmm.
Doosh, doosh. That was scary. I was like, oh my God. Oh,
Yeah,
I
that
was
was
like, old man,
terrifying.
get inside. You know, I'm like, geez, as soon as the first one hit me, I would book it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd be like, what the? I screamed, I'd cried. Yeah.
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 It's interesting though because the police chief talks with the coroner or the
Yeah.
medical examiner, and yeah, they like they kind of posit that like, oh, like if something happens to one sheep, they have something within like the flock where they all feel it or are affected by it.
Oh yeah, like they're
Uh,
easy they're easily startled, so if like one freaks out, they all freak out.
yeah, yeah,
So, yeah.
and then when he's doing the autopsy on it, he sees that the eardrum is ruptured.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay. And it feels like if they did an autopsy on the birds, I think they'd find the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like this is like whatever is happening, if it's the cause of like time travel or like jumping through time,
Mm-hmm.
it's enough to where like humans don't really
Mm-hmm.
see it or feel it, but animals do.
Maybe it's like a higher frequency, like
It could be, which would explain like the lights, because that's another thing that happens too when all the birds start falling, all the
mhm.
electricity starts going out too. And
Would
we saw that happen last episode too.
yeah, would a frequency affect electricity like that or
Probably.
hmm, I don't know. I'm not an electrician, so I couldn't tell you.
Neither am I.
Hmm.
So this is speculation, I guess.
Yeah. Wow. So it's pretty cool because the whole episode we have this whole new cast plus Mikkel. But then like the last 5 minutes where you start seeing the montage of all the characters in the 80s compared to the characters now, modern day. And then you
Mm-hmm.
do see Ulrich and his wife, Katarina, and you see Ulrich go back to the caves with the shovel. I was like, oh hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, or not the shovel, it's
Crowbar.
a crowbar. Yeah, he's gonna try and get through that door and he can't. Mikhail also goes back because he's trying to find his way back home through the caves.
Mm-hmm.
And like Ulrich hears him
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, idiot. I was yelling at him because he's like, hello? Hello? I was like, shout, man, call out for someone. And then at the end, like the last shot we see is both of them sitting outside the cave, but 30 years apart. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Yeah.
Let's talk about new characters. Who was the new characters here? We saw a
Claudia?
lot of the what?
Claudia?
Claudia. Claudia's not in modern day.
Mm-hmm.
Claudio is it's her first day as the head like of the power plant. First woman
Mm-hmm.
to be in charge of the power plant. They're making
Mm-hmm.
this big deal about it. As soon as she starts, she realizes something's up.
Mm-hmm.
And the old head who's like leaving, he's on his way out, the wheelchair guy, she confronts him about it and he's basically tells her, he's like, you're not just running the plant, like you're in charge of this entire essentially the future of this city because the city's relying on this plant
Mm-hmm.
and something's not adding up. So she kind of accepts it and says like, okay, what's going on? What's our skeletons?
Mm-hmm.
And he gives her a flashlight and a key, I guess, and she rappels down into the cave.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, dude, how many entrances are there to this cave?
Mm-hmm.
And inside she finds buttloads, and that's a technical term, buttloads of bright yellow barrels.
Yeah.
With what do they have like the hazard sign on them or
Yep.
something?
Yeah, they
Yeah,
do.
that's not what you want to see so close to a power plant
Yeah.
or underground. You're like, oh God. Okay, and she's Regina's mom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Uh man. So yeah, it was interesting because in the montage, Claudia and Claudia's dad, who is the police chief, they're the only two we don't see in modern day.
No, the police chief isn't Claudia's dad. Oh yeah, yeah. So
Mhm.
yeah, sorry. I got Claudia and Regina confused for a second. Yes.
Yeah, so he's
Yeah.
Regina's grandfather. Because
Yeah.
so is it the coroner or something? He's talking, he's asking, because we never see them together in the scene, but he's asking about his daughter. She's like, oh, she's good. And he's like, first woman to run a power plant. That is something. And he's like, sure, whatever. Tell me
Yeah.
about this dead sheep, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, so him, the police chief, and Claudia are the only two we don't see in the modern day
Mm-hmm.
flat like
Mm-hmm.
montage.
Yeah.
But we do find out Claudia was having an affair or had an affair with the reporter guy
Mm-hmm.
who was Ulrich's dad.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, what a
Who in
wicked web we weave.
who in the modern day part of the montage is not there. He's like
Yeah,
because he's not in the bed with his wife,
yeah.
because we see York's mom early in the episode, and then it
Mhm.
cuts back, at the end, and she's lying in bed, and then when she turns over, her husband isn't there. So
Yeah, and we
you
already
know,
know from the last episode, like he's doing something shady. Something shady's going on with
yeah,
him.
yeah,
And it's interesting because so he's Yorick's father. He's also Mad's father. So his son's been missing for a month, but the first time we see him, he's all smiles and he's talking with Claudia and he's like, "I need to see you again."
mhm.
Yada yada. It's just something so weird about this guy, you know?
The way he he said something like uh dang, what did he say? He said something along the lines of like it's not great at home right now or something, and
Yeah. It's just kind of like so
like I just,
offhandedly.
yeah, so offhandedly that I was like, okay, like what's your deal? And then when you find out, it's like, oh, you're Yorick's dad. Your kid is missing, dude. Like
Yeah.
it kind of felt like the way like Hannah came on to Yorick in the
Yeah.
present,
Yeah.
where she's like, I'm so sorry, that this is happening to you, and then trying to like get it on in the police like records room, like,
Yeah.
and Yorick's just not having it. He's like, no, like I can't right now. It's like,
Hmm.
yeah, dude,
Yeah.
that
His
like
kid's missing, man.
kid's missing. Come on. It's like,
Yeah.
dude, yeah. So like, yeah, for Yorick's dad, it's like, dude, your kid is missing.
Yeah.
Why are you acting like this? Yeah. And
Yeah.
like Yorick is very in the scene with the chief, like he's pissed, you know?
Yeah. Hmm.
He's pissed, and he's like, the you guys haven't found anything. Like you guys haven't found my brother, and
Hmm.
you know,
And
yeah,
so
like
it's interesting that Yorick's the one who grows up to be the detective,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah, especially after that conversation with Hannah, because it feels like, you know, if it feels like if any one person is gonna get out of here as soon as they can, it's Yorick.
Yeah. Hmm.
So I wonder what are the series of events that happen where he stays,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. Hmm.
Claudia is also given a gift by, I'm assuming it looks like a just like a janitor, but it
Yeah.
turns out it's like the old CEO's like son,
Yeah. Yeah. That's
who's
the
got like a,
opposite of nepotism.
yeah, yeah, for
I'll
real.
get you in. That's it.
You've got to start your way from the ground up. It's like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
dad, sure.
Yeah,
uh
he's a very kind of seems like a
Seems like very meek,
yeah, very
like
low
like
confidence.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not sure if he was trying to flirt with her in that scene or what, but like, he was like trying to he gave her a gift and it was like, we're all
Hmm.
behind you and
Which, when Claudia opens it, is a book called A Journey Through Time, which I think is from the same. It's is that related to the thing that we saw, like the little like video thing that we saw in episode 2?
I don't know. Maybe
Maybe.
because it showed the author's picture, did it?
No, it didn't.
It didn't.
It had the author's name, but it wasn't translated on Netflix. Only the title was.
Yeah.
Um, but
What's
yeah,
the title?
I A Journey Through Time,
A Journey Through Time. Um,
which is also just an interesting thing to like give to
yeah.
someone.
Here, Merry Christmas. Um,
Happy promotion. Here's a book about
did
time
the
relativity.
the
Yeah.
stranger in the hotel, German Daryl,
Daryl.
did he have a book? Because like I feel
I
like we've seen that book before.
Yeah, I thought so too. Maybe
Maybe.
I'm gonna have to go. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back.
Yeah, that was odd, and it's odd that we see that's the last we see of Claudia in this episode. She opens the book, and
Hmm.
it's a journey through time. But how does the episode end, Sam? The very last shot.
We see the back of someone's head who's got a lot of white hair working on something, and when the camera goes over the shoulder and we get an overhead shot, we see that they're building the machine that German Daryl has in his hotel room,
Mm-hmm.
and they're piecing it together. And I
He's
have
making it because it looks
he's making
brand
it.
new, and I'm like, it
Yeah,
looks gorgeous.
yeah.
I want a
What?
birthday cake of that.
I
Is it cake the show? That's what I want. You're like, okay, is this the real time machine or is it cake?
Or is it Kate?
We're gonna find out.
There's I'm pretty sure you've seen like the videos. There's like a chocolatier who does essentially that, but like makes like these very
Oh my
intricate looking
god.
pieces, of all this.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like it would work better because I feel like you don't have to go, or
Yeah.
I feel like you can't get as detailed with a cake design as you can, like, because the machine looks very intricate.
That's true.
Um,
But you know what I've always wondered about those chocolatiers?
what?
What's it smell like in there?
Hmm.
Because you would have to have it like really climate controlled so the chocolate doesn't melt and or go bad.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
So does it smell just really like sweet or chocolatey? Like I don't know.
Maybe they've lost their sense of smell.
Oh God. If I had to work with that much chocolate, I think I would lose my love of chocolate. And
Hmm.
I don't even like chocolate that much.
Well, see, that's the thing. You wouldn't be a chocolatier then, because I think you have so much love for chocolate that you can't. You need to make it into works of art. You know,
Oh, so I wouldn't be able to do that.
you wouldn't be able to what?
Be a chocolatier.
Yeah,
Because
because
the
you just
love,
said you don't love chocolate that much.
yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. So the
Yeah,
passion needs to be there.
yeah, exactly.
Hmm. But I just imagine the story of this troubled chocolatier. He's like, I can't enjoy it anymore because each bite of chocolate I eat, I consume, reminds me of another lost canvas,
What?
another masterpiece that could have been, yet it is sitting inside of me instead. It's this tortured soul who can't enjoy it just for chocolate. He has to turn it into art,
Oh
so
my
he can't eat
God.
it. And
Yeah.
I would call it dark chocolate.
Oh God.
Come
Can
on,
I
Netflix, buy it.
can I quit? I'm gonna quit. I'm
All right, man, I'm
gonna
giving
quit
you
the
gold here.
podcast.
I'm giving you gold.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, that's a beautiful film right there. And
Oh
we'll
my
get the
gosh.
guy from The Artist to play him. What was that guy's name?
I don't remember.
Neither.
Nobody remembers the artist, Matthew.
I like that guy though. And it's all shot in sepia tone, so it looks really chocolatey. You just want to eat the film.
Oh jeez.
That's going to be my debut film, and it's going to get a standing ovation at TIFF.
Ed Tiff.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, it's going to be amazing.
Well, good luck. I'll be at Fantastic Fest.
Yeah, dark chocolate. I haven't decided if it's going to be German or French yet. We'll find out. I speak neither
You don't speak
language.
either. Oh boy. Jeez.
Chocolate knows no language. I don't know.
Oh my god. No, chocolate transcends language. Jeez.
From the man who doesn't even like dark chocolate. I'm a crunch bar kind of guy.
Oh
Good
jeez.
old Nestle any day.
The lowliest of chocolates. Yeah.
They may have crappy water, but they have awesome chocolate.
Oh my god.
Uh, yeah. Well, what else about this episode? This is pretty solid too. I didn't realize, how short these are. They're standard outside of the pilot, the first episode. They're standard like 45-minute episodes. So I was like, oh, okay,
Mhm.
cool. Um, this one, it seemed kind of fast, but it seemed like it would never end because we get the cool montage of the
Mhm.
characters in modern day, and then we start to see Ulrich and Mikhail do their whole shouting through the caves thing, and
Mhm.
then it's like it had like three endings, and then we see the person making the
The
chocolate time
machine.
machine. Yeah,
Yes. How do we know it's a time machine? We don't know. We're
it's true.
assuming.
We're assuming because what's his name? Well, we don't even know that guy's a time traveler. He just knows. It's heavily implied that he knows about it because he's writing, "When is Mikhail?"
Mhm. Mhm.
We got a lot of characters, but they all had very small little roles, but significant roles.
Mhm.
It's interesting because we know it's only 3 seasons. We know it's a
Mhm.
total of 26 episodes.
Mhm.
So it's like we as an audience we already have like the end in sight. We know how many. When
Mhm.
this aired, I don't know if they knew that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it feels like they're really taking their time giving out any clues or anything like that, but they're just giving out enough to like world build.
Mhm.
So
I feel like that's the thing too. Like, they're world building, they're setting up all of these characters, but I think I also feel like they've given you clues, but you don't realize they're clues yet.
That's a good point.
Or like they're clues,
Hmm.
but for what exactly? You have no
Yeah,
idea. It's like, wait, what?
you don't
Like,
know the
yeah,
question yet. You're like, oh
yeah,
crap.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I did want to bring up just earlier today. I don't know, I don't even think you've seen this.
Uh-oh.
But friend of the show, Dan, our good buddy
Uh-huh.
Dan, he tweeted at us or posted at us because I guess you just make posts on X now, but I'm still
He
calling it
X'd
Twitter.
us. Is that
So
what it's
there's
called?
still, oh God, that doesn't sound good.
Hmm.
But good buddy Dan tweeted at us. He said, caught up on the show and pod, talking about Dark. Really digging the show. Do I know what's going on? Absolutely not. But I love that.
Hmm.
Also, one of my favorite lines that you guys didn't discuss, and this is from the first episode, when Mikhail does the magic trick and his dad asks, how'd you do that? And he responds, I don't know how I did it. It's or what does it say? It's not how I did it, it's when I did it.
Mm. Yeah, that
Something like that. That's an
definitely makes
important
sense
line.
from the magician point of view
Mm-hmm.
because it's all about sleight of hand, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and the key to the trick is at what point, quote unquote, when did he actually make the switch?
Mm-hmm.
Um, that of course that comes into play so much more at the end of episode two. You
Mm-hmm.
know, in episode
Mm-hmm.
one, it's just like it's there and like, okay, cool. But then it doubles down when German Daryl writes, when is Mikhail? It's like, of
Mm-hmm.
course, it's the magic kid who's the one who's gonna get thrown back through time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
that's
also
something interesting too. Sorry to cut you off, but
mhm.
he was running with Jonas. But in this episode, or at the end of the last episode, we see him walking out of the cave
Yeah.
into 1986. So already there's a mystery, there's a puzzle, and we already know that there's missing pieces.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not only is it a puzzle of all black, we know we're missing pieces still.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, yeah, things aren't lining up.
Yeah.
I just want to bring that up. What were you gonna say?
No, that's a very good point. I was just gonna bring up that I think that's also a good mindset to keep when thinking about the show where it's like, yeah, it's not how I did it, it's when I did it, or it's when it happened.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very much, like you said, like the like the magician's trade. It's like we're making you look over here when you should be looking over here.
Yeah,
Because I'm
yeah.
going to show you this thing. I'm going to show you something shiny or something moving and something that's going to draw your eye while I'm actually doing the real magic, which is over here, underhand or behind or something. So I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that's also a good thing to think about when watching the show. Like we're focusing on the machine. We're focusing on German Daryl, or all of these other things.
Mm-hmm.
When I feel like maybe not like the bigger mystery, but I feel like the clue or the thing that sinks it all is going to be something that might be in the smaller moment, or
Mm-hmm.
something that we don't know how it all pieces together yet, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and also just in dark fashion, something you said last week makes a lot more sense this week because I said, okay, they found out that the dead kid in episode one wasn't Mikhail,
Yeah.
and we see Eric alive. So who's the dead kid? And you responded, well, maybe it is Eric, but we just don't see when they killed him.
Mm,
I was like, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense. Things aren't happening in a linear story. And then
hmm.
after the end of last episode, we realized, oh, there is time travel involved. Maybe that is him. I don't know.
Hmm.
But that's something too. Like, you're like, okay, yeah, yeah. When is this stuff happening? Also, what's that connection? You
Yeah.
know, who is that kid? How did he get there? Is he from the 80s? Because the cops were talking about the Walkman and
Hmm.
the clothes and that song that he had playing on the cassette, you know.
Mm,
Uh if he is, how did he end up in modern day?
Yeah.
Dead body can't take himself through the caves. Also, why would someone try and take him through? Like, there's just so many questions. Like, it's just what you said earlier. We have so many clues, but we don't actually know what the questions are yet. We have
Yeah.
like big questions, but we don't really know how like they apply to the story itself or what. It's just,
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy. It's
Yeah.
wild. It's mind-boggling. And this is
And I
only
love it.
episode three. Only
I
episode
know.
three.
I know.
Oh man. Yeah.
It's crazy.
All right. So unfortunately, as always, no behind the scenes for you. Um, let me see. Oh, I wanted to bring up this quote, which the old chief tells Claudia before she rappels down into the cave. He quotes Isaac Newton. What we know is a drop. What we don't know is an ocean.
Mm.
I think that's a much better analogy for the show than the Black Puzzle. But
Yeah, I guess that's true.
mhm,
But I like it. I like the visual of our all black puzzle.
mhm. I
Yeah.
like a lot of things in this episode. I like that we actually got a scene with Kid Yorick and Hannah at the bus stop. And it was a nice little scene, where he's talking about, oh, no more winded, blah, blah, blah. And she's just kind of sitting there. She's like, yeah. And like, she's just like looking at him, kind of smiles,
Hmm.
awkwardly. And I'm like, because we know that decades from now, they're going to be having an affair.
Hmm.
And it's like, oh, man, weird.
Yeah.
I think it's also weird because we're not in a small town. So, like, most of the people we knew, even in high school, we don't see anymore.
Yeah.
So, and the ones you do, they're the real ones. You're gonna keep there.
Hmm.
Not in the town of Winden.
Yep.
Um, yeah. Oh, Tannhaus. That was the author's name on the book.
Ah,
Journey Through Time, Tannhaus.
Hen
The only
house.
reason I remember is because it reminds
Interesting.
me of was it the Tannhauer Gate?
The Tannhauser Gates.
Tannhauser Gates.
Hmm.
Tears in the Rain. Hmm.
Good.
Yeah.
It's good. Not a time travel story, but
Still good.
timeless.
Unfortunately, not a time travel story, but still good. Okay, so MVPs for this episode.
Oof. See that like this is rough, you know? Like
Yeah.
at, like at least for right now. You know, I'm gonna say music. The music.
Music,
Music was
man,
on
it was
point.
so good.
It was so good, especially at the end. You're just there, you're in it. It's a beautiful montage. I'm like, man, this is so good.
That was my first note. As soon as episode started, the music is already blowing me away because we already
Hmm.
got the almost instantly we get the music again. Whatever piece they use, which is like, huh, 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 huh. You have all the like the
Hmm.
voices in the background, and yeah, it's just so good. And
Yeah.
then when they actually use the soundtrack, I don't know what song that was at the end, but that was a really good song too. I was like, oh
Hmm.
man. So yeah. Okay, music. Predictions. Now that we're in the 80s, Sam, what are your predictions?
Man, I don't know. I don't know. Stuff's look, I feel like now that we're in the 80s, I think this is gonna be a show where like things are gonna happen in both time periods that are
Yeah.
gonna affect both time periods. I
Mm-hmm.
definitely feel like it's gonna be one of those things where like somebody from the future is gonna do something that wrecks the past,
Mm.
but in a way that's like, oh, like something happened, present day. We all know this thing happened, right? We like nobody talks about it or nobody knows how it happened or blah blah blah. We're gonna see that somebody from this present went back in time, messed with something,
Mm-hmm.
and caused the bad thing that everybody remembers.
Mm. Yeah, and it's one of
You
those things
know?
where like we don't know the rules yet for this time travel.
Oh, we didn't even talk about the nurse.
Oh yes, what's her
The
name?
nurse. Um,
Enid or Enos?
yeah, Enos, I think.
Enos. It's Jonas's grandmother.
Grandmother. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. So
she's tied in it into this.
yeah, she's the nurse. She's the nurse who goes to like take care of Mikhail, because Mikhail like says that he's, York's kid, but York's a kid,
Yeah.
so it's like this whole thing. Uh and yeah, she's the one who gives him like the comic books,
Captain Future comic
Captain
books.
Future, and says like you can stay here as long as you need to, all
Hmm.
this stuff. But what was really interesting was in the montage, we see her looking out the window of Jonas's hospital room, or I'm sorry, of Mikhail's hospital room, and in the present we see her holding onto the box that had her son's suicide note,
Yeah.
and she's looking at it and she's kind of like staring off, and then she looks up like she remembers something. And
Mm.
with those two images, juxtaposed together, it almost looks like she remembers a young boy hopping out of a windowsill from the hospital. So it's
You
like I
see,
feel like
yeah.
time not only is this not being presented in a linear fashion, time is also fluid, where
Yeah.
things are going to start popping up that, like, now that Mikhail's in the past, like, it's going to start affecting people's memory.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, we don't know the rules of the time travel in this show.
Mm-hmm.
So is it that the thing of where like if that happens to us right now, like all of a sudden, like, wait a second, I remember meeting you, Sam, when I was a kid, 30 something Sam, when I was in elementary school. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
did I just forget about that until now?
Mm-hmm.
Or am I just now remembering it for the first time?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, so, and it kind of goes back to what you're saying, someone going back to the past and that's affecting the future. We've already seen that you can go to the past because Mikkel is there. So
Mm-hmm.
that we know that path is possible. Did something happen back then or earlier that affected the future, and is that what sends Mikkel back? Or does Mikkel being
Mm.
there accidentally affect things in the future and that sends him back like a
Mm-hmm.
loop? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh man, yeah, this is all stuff that like we were talking about with Lost, but like this is like the core of the show, it seems like,
Yeah.
we already
Yeah.
are fought, we're only 3 episodes in, but we have two whole different timelines to keep track of with two whole completely different casts. um
Oh my God.
oh my god, it's like This Is Us on crack. All right, guys, but we want to know what's your predictions as well, so let us know on the socials. And maybe we'll talk about it next week if you get it to us in time. Because next week we're talking about season 1, episode 4, Double Lives.
Ooh.
Bizarre occurrences give Charlotte a sense of deja vu. Ooh.
Ooh.
And she suspects Peter is hiding something. Meanwhile, Francesca snaps when Magnus confronts her. Okay, that's kind of good because since like none of them really came back in a big way this episode, it'll be cool
Mm-hmm.
to catch up again. Charlotte is the one who found the birds, so deja
Mm-hmm.
vu. Peter, her husband, is being really shady.
Oh yeah.
He's hiding something.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone in this town is like hiding something.
Hey man, small towns, they all hide something.
Yeah,
Everyone's got skeletons.
yeah. And Francesca is the art girl. She's their daughter, right? She's the Charlotte's daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Francesca is the art girl. Snaps when Magnus confronts her. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
There's chemistry between those two, so it's just a matter of time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah, guys, let us know what you think is going to happen. Um, or any theories or anything you caught that we haven't caught. So that was a good call for Dan. I completely
Mm-hmm.
forgot about that line
Thank you,
that
Dan.
Mikael says. Yeah. Um, so yeah, let us know. I'm on Twitter at _ Matt Jimenez and on Instagram at Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch.
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads at Real, that's REEL, Texas Weirdo.
We still don't have a good sign off, so until next time, going dark.
Going dark.